Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today for the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky's Health for a Change webinar. Kentucky, the 2020 census is here. My name is Rochelle Seeger. I work here at the Foundation as a Community Health Research Officer. I've worked at the Foundation since 2013 and am honored to coordinate this training series we fondly call Health for a Change. Thank you for joining us today. A few items before we get started. First of all, if you're joining us also on the web platform, there's an audience questions section where you can type in your questions that will come only to us, the presenters, on your webinar here today. We'll do our best to answer your questions today on our 1-hour webinar, but if there's questions we don't get to, we'll try and follow up with answers via email in the next week or so. Again, my name is Rochelle. I work here at the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky. The Foundation's mission is to address the unmet health needs of Kentuckians. And if you're logged into the webinar, you can see that beautiful sunny sky pictures of the fields where we went last summer in July to Need More Acres Farm, where Michelle and Nathan Howell hosted us to have a community organizing workshop, and we learned about some of the great work that they're doing in Allen County, Kentucky. The Foundation's mission to address the unmet health needs of Kentuckians is done by influencing and developing policy, improving access to care, reducing health risks and disparities, and promoting health equity. If you haven't seen the Foundation's website, you can join us there at healthy-ky.org, where you can learn more about the Foundations for Healthy Kentucky's current strategic plan, our mission and vision and values. Also, the upcoming schedule of events on the Events tab. And you can learn more about one of our current initiatives, the Coalition for a Smoke-Free Tomorrow. That coalition website is smokefreetomorrow.org. Again, the Foundation's working a great deal on smoke and smoke-free policy here in the state of Kentucky, and we welcome you to join us on that effort. Today's training series is part of the Health for a Change series. In 2011, the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky launched a series of webinars and in-person workshops across Kentucky to support people just like yourselves who are working to make health improvements for all of us across the state of Kentucky. So frequently on these webinars, we have local health department staff, health advocates, teachers, university folks, community members, and we all welcome them to this free training series the Foundation sponsors. On the Foundation's website, healthy-ky, on the Events tab, you'll find all the Health for Change training series, as well as the archive of past events. You can hear the recordings and find the slide decks from our presenters. In about a day or so, today's slides and the recordings will be posted on that website. So you will have the full slide deck from today's presentation. I do want to shout out to all of the partners who we worked with across the state of Kentucky: Kentucky Injury Prevention Research Center at the University of Kentucky, Jessica Bellamy with Root Cause Research Center, who did an infographics workshop with us last year, and also last year we were in Whitesburg and had a great event with Kane Community Kitchen down there, where you can see the chef there with his arms up in success for a great event that we had there with them in June of last year. So thank you for all the partners who join us here today. This training series is for you, so I welcome your ideas on future training topics or speakers. Now to get to what we really want to talk about, because it is here. Kentucky's 2020 census is upon us. I'm thrilled to have two fantastic presenters who will share with us all of the current information and updates from the U.S. Census Bureau. And I want to begin at the top of the hour here to thank all of the 2020 census partners in Kentucky who have been working to prepare all of us to be ready to be counted for the 2020 U.S. Census. So about 1 year ago, I attended a meeting that was led by Kentucky Nonprofit Network, who gathered a group of nonprofit groups across the state to have this conversation about how Kentucky was preparing for the 2020 census. So I want to thank some of those folks, including Kentucky Nonprofit Network, Kentucky Youth Advocates, Advocacy Action Network, United Way of Kentucky, Kentucky Voices for Health, Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, and those are just a few of the people who were involved in that group over 1 year ago to begin thinking about how we could prepare for the 2020. The second announcement I want to make, and thank you before we get started and turn it over to the U.S. Census Bureau leaders that we have on our call here today, is to make mention about the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky's request for proposal that has just come out. Of course, I want to thank the Foundation leadership for identifying funds in their 2020 budget to put toward this effort. On the Foundation's website, Healthy-KY, under the Grant Opportunities tab, you'll find the request for proposal that has been recently released. The Foundation has allocated a total of $30,000 for outreach efforts starting now so that communities across Kentucky can be ready to be counted. The full proposal and questions and answers are posted on our website, and I'll talk more about it at the end of our call here today. Here's that website I mentioned with the request for proposals. The proposals are open now. You can submit an application, and they'll be reviewed on a regular basis. We'll accept proposals 1 until the money has been dispersed, again, a total of $30,000, or until June 30th of this year. In that request for proposals, you'll find information about the purpose of the grant funding, what types of organizations are eligible, how to apply or the different proposal elements that you'll be asked to write up, additional questions, and also important resources. So as we know, there's a lot of information about the 2020 census out there, and that's where you can find more information about how to do the outreach in your community, the correct messaging, and also how you can connect with the complete count committee in your Kentucky community. Before we get started, I already see a question, so thank you for sending in your questions via the audience question function. It says, how can communities apply for grant money? So first, you're here today, so thank you for joining us. You'll get all the up-to-date information on the U.S. Census, the 2020 U.S. Census. The second thing you want to do is you want to go to the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky's website and look at that request for proposal. It's only a few pages long, and it has instructions on eligible organizations, the proposal elements that you would need to submit, frequently asked questions, and then if you've done all of those steps, if you have additional questions, I welcome them. As I mentioned, the grants are open now, and the application will be reviewed on an ongoing basis. I'm so thrilled to have with us here today Dan Munchback and Michelle Ellison from the U.S. Census Bureau. I'm thrilled to work with them on this important Census Bureau task. As you all may know, there's many important reasons to be counted in the decennial census. Kentucky gets a lot of federal funding. There's also a number of other reasons in terms of planning, data, and Dan and Michelle will share with us all of the up-to-date information on the 2020 U.S. Census. A reminder to everyone on our call, the slide deck will be available to everyone after the webinar. I'll send you an email with that information later. And please do chat in your questions. We welcome them here on today's 1-hour presentation. I'm glad to welcome to the call Michelle Ellison, National Partnership Program, United States Census. Welcome, Michelle.
Great. Thank you, Rochelle. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today with my colleague, Dan Munchbach, and give you some updates about the 2020 census. As you said, we are here. It is go time. So what we would like to do is make sure everybody understands the timeline as things begin to unfold. But before I get into that timeline, I just want to quickly do a brief 101 just to get everybody on the same page as to why the census matters, what is at stake. In the most simplest terms, money and power. Those are the two things that are so important. Two reasons why it's so important that we have a complete and accurate count of our state, because representation and funding are on the line. As many of you know, the main reason that the census is included in Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution, which states that we need to do an accurate count of every single person that lives in the United States every 10 years, is for apportionment. The seats in the House of Representatives are apportioned based on our numbers. Kentucky actually had 7 seats in the House of Representatives. We lost a seat after the 1990 census, so we do not want to lose any more representation. Census data is also used for redistricting, and that's everything from legislative districts to voting districts to school districts are determined based on census data. But probably what people don't realize is just how much funding is tied to census data. The number is huge. The official Census Bureau numbers is it's over $675 billion, billion with a B, is allocated to states and local governments every year for the next decade based on our numbers. So quite frankly, if we do not count every single person living in Kentucky, we are just leaving money on the table. And you all know as much as I do, we cannot afford here in Kentucky to leave money on the table. So $675 billion a year is at stake. That's a huge number. It's sort of hard to wrap your brain around a number that large. One thing I'm thrilled about is we have a lot of partner organizations that have been doing some phenomenal research and trying to come up with information that brings it down to Kentucky, explains why it really matters to our state and what the funding level is in our state. One example is George Washington University. They looked at just the top 16 federally funded programs across Kentucky, and through their research came up with a number of $2,021 per person as the importance of participating in the census in Kentucky. Another organization that we've been working with closely is the Kentucky Youth Advocates, who are part of the Annie E. Casey Foundation and have helped launch the Count All Kids campaign across the nation. And they looked at just the number of children that were estimated to have been missed in Kentucky in the 2010 census. And you'll see in that other slide that over $12 million every year for the last decade were missed just from not counting all of our kids in the state. So I hope you guys understand the importance of getting an accurate count in this census. Now, the next slide I want to talk to you about here is the actual timeline. Like I said, we are here. It is go time. Right now, this week, we are in the midst of what's called Statistics in Schools Week, where we have asked every school, every classroom across the nation to take time this week and make sure to incorporate a message or a lesson about the census. It is so important that we teach students about the census, that we get them excited about it, and that they also go home to their parents and take that message home about why they need to be counted. So on this slide here, you will see a website, census.gov/schools. I know we've got a lot of teachers and schools that have registered for this webinar. So we have a lot of free materials, classroom materials, 5-minute warm-up activities, maps, videos. All these materials can be easily incorporated into the classroom, and we would encourage schools across Kentucky to use this opportunity during Statistics in Schools Week to really educate not only children but also their families about the importance of the census. Why this week? Because next week, March 12th, is the date that we begin mailing census questionnaires to every household across America. And for the first time in history, we're offering an online response option to complete the census. So starting March 12th and through the following week, the week of March 15th, households will begin receiving an invitation in the mail to go online and complete their census questionnaire. A week later, if you look at the little box next to this timeline, you'll see our actual mail-out dates. A week after we mail out that initial invitation, we're going to mail out a reminder letter to every household that hasn't responded yet. And then a week after that, we're going to mail out a reminder postcard. But by that first week of April, every house that has not had a chance to respond online or by phone will receive a paper form in the mail that they can fill out and simply mail back to us. And then again, throughout April, we will send a couple more reminders with Derby weekend, that first weekend of May, kind of being our final push here in Kentucky, that if you have not completed your census yet, it's important that you go ahead and do that because by mid-May, May 12th, every household that has not responded to the census will have someone come out to their door. We are required by law to collect this information, so we will have someone come out, knock on their door, and try to collect that, the answers to their census questionnaire. That's what we're trying to avoid, though. We really want everybody to simply take 10 minutes when they receive their information in the mail to go online or pick up the phone and respond to the census on their own. I've got a couple other important dates here. You'll see that on March 30th, I always have questions about how do we count people experiencing homelessness, and we actually have an operation, a 3-day operation that will kick off on March 30th where we do that. As a reminder, April 1st is Census Day, and yes, it's also April Fool's Day. I'm not sure why they do that, but April 1st is Census Day. It's a reference point whether you fill out your census prior to April 1st or after April 1st. We are asking you to answer the questions based on where you live or stay most of the year as of April 1st. You'll notice that in April is also when census takers will begin visiting group quarters such as dormitories, nursing homes, correctional facilities. And I really do need to give a shout out to our colleges and universities in Kentucky. We have already started contacting our colleges and universities to find out the best way to enumerate the residents living in those dormitories, and they have been very patient with us. And we really appreciate all their hard work to make sure that we get this count right because we do not want to miss any students. We have a lot of colleges and universities in Kentucky. I mentioned that May 12th is going to be the date that we begin our non-response follow-up operation. So that's when we start knocking on people's doors, and we will continue doing that throughout the summer, wrapping up around August, because by December 31st, we have to present our final numbers to the President of the United States. So one thing I do want to mention is that we are in our final push to recruit the people that we need for this major operation across the summer, which is the non-response follow-up operation. So folks that are interested in a part-time temporary job can still go online at 2020census.gov/jobs and apply to be a census taker, and I would encourage them to do that sooner than later. Now, the main reason that I wanted to be a part of this webinar today is I just wanted to get the information out to you guys as how you can help ensure that this is a success in our state and that we count everybody here. The very first thing that I would ask everybody on this webinar to do is connect with us. I want to make sure that you get the information sent directly to you over the coming months. Now, I know we all get a lot of emails. I know, it's fine. You are welcome to unsubscribe to these census emails after we wrap up in August. But I would encourage everybody to go ahead and go to our 2020census.gov webpage. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and I've included a picture of what it looks like at the bottom there. But you'll see at the bottom of the page where you can sign up for email updates. You're going to put your email address in there, and then the next page that comes up will be asking you to click these check boxes of what kind of email notifications you want from the Census Bureau. One of them is specific to census partnerships, but I would encourage everybody just to check all those boxes so you're getting the most up-to-date information that you can share with your colleagues, your partners, and with stakeholders across Kentucky. The second thing I want to share with you is the amazing wealth of resources and materials that we have available for our partners on our webpage. We have more than 120 materials and resources across languages that are now available. This includes handouts, posters, social media posts, toolkits, and other resources. And many of these resources can be filtered by language, by type, and audience, and they can be used both digitally and in print. So I would also encourage everybody to go to the 2020census.gov/partners page. And I'm going to show you what that page looks like and where you can find all these resources that you can use in your organization. So when you go to 2020census.gov/partners, you're going to see a page like this come up, and right on the left-hand side at the top, there will be something that you can click on that says Outreach Materials. When you click on that link, you will be able to scroll down. And when I say there are tons of materials on there, I mean it. There really are tons of materials, posters, fact sheets, toolkits that you can use to help educate folks and get the word out about the census. There are so many materials on this page that at the top you can filter by language, by type, or the specific audiences that you're looking for. So here you'll see the recruitment toolkit with all the information you need about census jobs, a complete count committee toolkit. If you continue scrolling down, you'll see we have web badges available that you can put on your websites. At the bottom, you'll see there's a poster for the LGBTQ community. There's also a poster about confidentiality. So we have all the information that you all need to educate the public, and I would encourage you to go to this site and utilize these materials. This slide here just shows you an example of all the different posters and handouts that we have, whether they're half-page handouts or full-blown posters focused on, counting children or how you can help your community stay healthy. So please take advantage of these resources. This slide here shows some other resources that we have, like there is a social media guide available. So we already have suggested wording for posts on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. We also have videos, very short, quick, easy videos that are easy to share on social media, and some cards and some photographs that you can use while you're doing that. And then this next page shows a sample message that you can just use to insert into your company's newsletter or your school's newsletter to help spread the word about the 2020 census, announce your partnership, and even talk a little bit about your organization and why it is so important to you and to your organization that Kentucky receives an accurate count in 2020. So as I said, there are a wealth of materials available online, from brochures to videos to web links. And here I've listed all the different languages that you can find materials in. And we do have information for so many different audiences, whether you're looking for specific information about counting young children, or how, about recruitment, or information specific to the Black or African American population. Everything you need will be on that 2020 census.gov/partners website. Now, I quickly want to take you to one more exciting resource that we have just launched on our webpage. So if you go to 2020census.gov/response-rates, you will get this map of the United States, and you can zoom in. I've taken a screenshot here where I've zoomed in on the state of Kentucky. And the reason I'm so excited about this map, right now, when you go to this map, you can click on each county, each city. You can click down to the tract level and find out what your response rate, what the response rate in your area was in 2010. So this screen that I've got here shows that the overall self-response rate for Kentucky in 2010 was about 68.2%, but Adair County was a little above that with 70.6% of self-response. Now, the reason I'm so excited about this map is just prior to April 1st, this map is actually going to change and be showing the live 2020 response rate. So it will be updated regularly with actual information, so you can zoom in on your county and find out, okay, on the west side in this tract, only 52% of households have responded to the census. But over here on the east side, 75% of our households have responded. So it will help you to really focus your efforts and know where do we need to make sure we're increasing outreach because we're not getting much response. So this is going to be an exciting opportunity to keep track of what's going on in our state from April through mid-May. And one thing it leads to is a 2020 Census Response Rate Challenge. We are asking counties and cities to challenge themselves to increase their response rate from 2010, or challenge a neighboring city. I'd love to see a Louisville-Lexington response rate challenge, or neighboring counties can challenge each other to have a higher response rate, and this map will help with that challenge. So on our website, we have a toolkit that lays out everything that you need to have a successful 2020 Census Response Rate Challenge. Now, I am going to turn this over to my colleague Dan Munchback, who is the coordinator for Kentucky and our team of partnership specialists. So, Dan, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Munchback, and I am the partnership coordinator for the U.S. Census Bureau for the state of Kentucky. That was a lot of information. Michelle, thank you so much for showing us all of those resources online. Those are very important resources and very free and very available to everyone. And really quick shout out to Rochelle and her team. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity and making this available to us. It really helps us connect with our partners and present and future partners. So thanks so much. What I want to focus on is I want to focus on the work that's already been done in Kentucky. We currently have 15 partnership specialists across the state of Kentucky that cover all 120 counties. All of those partnership specialists have been working diligently for the better part of 2.5, in some cases 3 years, to make our partners and aware of what's going on. So what they do, they start out by going into a county at the highest elected official in the county. So we'll start off with the judge executive for the county. And our intent is to make a committee and help the judge form a committee of trusted voices in that community. Those trusted voices are going to be your school superintendents. They're going to be your healthcare providers. They're going to be your anyone in the community that's trusted voice, because every community in Kentucky is different, and every committee looks different. And so these committees that were formed over Kentucky over the past 2 years, we currently have 179 complete count committees in the state of Kentucky. So congratulations. That's amazing. That's more CCCs, way more CCCs than the last decennial. And I truly believe that we're going to see it in the results. All the hard work that these CCCs have done for their communities and for their residents. So just quickly, I wish I could show a lot more of these. These are some of the logos that our local CCCs have developed, and it makes it fun. It brands that county and brands that complete count committee. There's a sense of pride in these logos, and I do wish I could have 30 different slides to show all the logos that we have for 179 of these committees, but I did want to just show a few of them so you could see the great work that's been done. Really quickly, I want to talk about some of the work that the CCCs are doing with the partnership specialists. So we have what's called low response scores that we track, and anybody can see these low response scores, and in a future slide you will see there's called ROAM. It's Response Outreach Area Mapper, and you can get to that on the census.gov website. It's open to the public, and it's going to be open to our CCCs as well. And Michelle talked about the live version where we can actually see response scores, and that is going to play huge in as a final effort in what we've done with these low response score areas and partners over the past 2 years. So on this map, this is just a general depiction of the pink areas are low response score areas. Those show us the areas in the state that are most likely to be low response. That's a self-response. That's individuals not responding to the online or by phone or by mail. One of those three ways will be a low response score. And as Michelle stated, if by mid-May you haven't responded via one of those three means, somebody will be knocking on your door to assist in getting that information for the count. So the black dots on this represent our partners. So to date, we have over 3,800 partners in the state of Kentucky, and that is amazing. The country, our director, his vow to the committee before this thing started was 300,000 partners nationwide, and the Census Bureau met that goal. We're proud that the director was able to announce that goal was met, 300,000 partners, and the state of Kentucky absolutely did its part in contribution to that goal. So our intent, as you can see with the black dots on the slide, our intent is to acquire partners and acquire assistance from these complete count committees to serve those low response score areas. And I'm just going to go quickly over one example, and just for the sake of an example, I'm going to do Jefferson County, and this will apply across the state, and we've done this analysis across the state. And I just want to show the variance. If you look at track 3000, it's a 39.1% low response. We predict that 39.1% 1% of respondents will not self-respond to the census. But then right down the road at track 70, and it's not very far at all, it's only 15.8. So I show this to show you how the disparities between areas and how each area has its own efforts and has its own attention needed, and you need special partners in these areas to address those LRS tracks. And we've done that, and you've done that, and all the committees have strived very hard to get that done with 3,800 partners across the state. And just to highlight, this is what a complete count committee is comprised of. If you look at this is the Louisville Complete Count Committee in Jefferson County. And the organizations listed there sit on this committee, and they provide updates of what they do in the community, initiatives that they have in the community in support of the upcoming 2020 census and census awareness. And absolutely a great picture of what a CCC looks like, and the CCCs, all 179 of them across the state, are doing amazing work, and we have addressed these low response score areas. I want to highlight one of our partners, the Kentucky Youth Advocates, and I highlight this, and as Michelle stated earlier, Statistics in Schools Week is happening right now, and I have to give a shout out to all of our superintendents across the state of Kentucky and how amazing and supportive they've been of the Statistics in Schools program, the United States Census Bureau, and their efforts this decennial. And they have absolutely made the difference, and I truly believe that it will be one of the major building blocks of what is going to make this a successful decennial census. So thank you to our school systems, thank you to our superintendents, and thank you to our teachers. So the Kentucky Youth Advocates, twice during this decennial operation, they sponsored a sweepstakes. And in our local schools, if teachers and students utilize any of the programs that's on census.gov for Statistics in Schools program, and they just snap a photo or take a little video and send it in to the KentuckyYouthAdvocates.org/SIS site, then they're enrolled for the sweepstakes. And they could win $500 for their school. And there's 5 different sweepstakes for the schools. And I wanted to just highlight that this organization is one that I wanted to highlight because they have also had a big hand with the State Complete Count Committee and their contributions to that committee. And so thank you to Kentucky Youth Advocates and again to our schools for getting out the awareness. So let's quickly talk about the Kentucky Quilt. And if you haven't seen the Kentucky Quilt, it's very possible that it will be coming to a library near you very, very soon. The Kentucky Quilt has traveled across the state and it has already been to multiple locations. The Kentucky Extension Homemakers Association created a quilt with their partnership with the U.S. Census Bureau. And this quilt has a swatch, if you will, from every single county in the state of Kentucky. It's a beautiful piece. It's something to see. And if you do have the chance to see it, I highly recommend you do. Right now, it is in Rockcastle County Public Library, and it will be heading very shortly to Lexington to the Ashland Terrace Retirement Home. And then shortly after that, it will be at the Capitol in the Rotunda for Census Day on April 1st. And just of note, there's also been a Senate resolution, number 29, that was introduced to the legislature in Kentucky. And so we're anxiously awaiting that now. So KentuckyNonprofits.org have also been a great contributor to Kentucky and the 2020 census awareness efforts. They also sit on the State Complete Count Committee, and they're just a great partner along with the Kentucky Youth Advocates, and they have helped us in many, many ways. We just want to thank them for what they've done. And I know we're not done yet, but the work that they've done and helped contribute has really made great partners and really made great strides for us to get a full count. So I just wanted to show a few pictures of some events and some shout outs to some different counties, partnership specialists. We really have just had an amazing time getting to know our counties, getting to know our partners, and I think that the success that we're going to have is just going to show the love that folks have for the state of Kentucky, and it's just been great. I think these are really neat. Every county, every city, every area, they all have their own spin on what they think and how they think folks are going to respond. And in a couple of counties here, you can see porta potties is the way to go. Trash bins are the way to go. And it's just been really great to see it all come to fruition. And then there's a photo there of Laid Back Country Picker, of great partners and friends. Okay, I think that is the end of our time. I'm going to turn it back over to Rochelle.
Thanks so much, Dan and Michelle. We do have a few questions. This one is about social media tools for the Complete Count Committee. So first, remind us again about the definition for a Complete Count Committee, where I can connect with my leadership, and also information you may have about social media tools. Take it away, Dan or Michelle.
Yeah, so we have several materials available for CCCs to utilize. If you go online, we have a map, and again, you can go to that 2020census.gov/partners. It will take you to a map that we have locating all the CCCs across the nation, and you can zoom into the state of Kentucky and find the CCC that's in your area. And the social media toolkit for CCCs is fantastic. I mean, it has everything that you need, whether it's images or messaging, to post on social media, to get it out there. I'll tell you, this is my third decennial census, and we did not have this digital world like we do now 10 years ago. So really utilizing social media for the 2020 census has been huge. So I would encourage everybody to go online, again, check out those materials we have, and see what's available, because we've done the work for you. All we need as our CCC is to just simply push this out. Now, I would encourage you to tailor the message to Kentucky, to your county, to your area. But great question, and we appreciate all our CCCs out there that are helping with this.
Thanks, Michelle. You and Dan both mentioned tailoring the messages in the local Complete Count committees. And Laid Back Country Picker here is in the picture that we have posted. Tell us a little bit more about how we could do that in our local community, connecting with some of the local leaders.
Yeah, and I got to give a shout out. One of the things that we need to do to be successful is to reach out to our trusted voices in the community. An area of Kentucky that we're really concerned about is Eastern Kentucky. Historically, our Eastern Kentucky, our Appalachian counties have had very low response rates. So when the federal government comes into eastern Kentucky to knock on people's doors and get response, they are not, we're the first people to admit that the federal government is not the trusted voice out there. We are not the people that folks want to respond to. So what we need to do is find out who are those trusted voices, who are the people that folks trust in Kentucky and that can deliver the message for us about how important it is. One of the first people that we reached out to in eastern Kentucky was David Prince, who's pictured right there, who is a high school teacher. He's a civics or a government high school teacher. He understands the importance of the census. He teaches about it in his classroom. His wife, Teresa Prince, is an elementary or a preschool teacher. She also understands the importance of the census, but why do they matter so much when they're not teaching? They are a traveling music act known as Laid Back Country Picker and his wife Honey. These are trusted voices in eastern Kentucky. These folks are people that can help deliver that message why it's so important to be counted and can help explain it and bring it down to a level that people understand. So who are our other trusted voices in Kentucky? I mean, right now we're about to kick into March Madness basketball. I'm a UK graduate. I know in at least my world, Coach Cal is a very trusted voice. So we have reached out to him. He's recorded a PSA in support of the 2020 census. So I would encourage everybody listening, who are the influencers in your community? Who are the trusted voices? Can we reach out to them now? The time is now, and ask them to help promote the census in their area and to their fans and to the people that they really have outreach to. That's what I would encourage all of our partners to do throughout Kentucky.
Thanks, Michelle. Great that you mentioned UK because this audience question also includes UK. It says, my son is a UK student, but I live in Henry County. How is my son going to be counted on the 2020 census? Do I mark him on my form?
So that is a great question.
Talk about how that person should respond, and then if you want to add additional information about hard-to-count groups, that would be great. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, so we are really focused on outreach to our hard-to-count populations, and there are a lot of hard-to-count populations, whether it's children, especially under the age of 5, whether it's the African-American population, especially African-American males that have historically been undercounted, seniors, renters. But one of the hardest to count populations across America is college students. And the reason for that is oftentimes they are counted in the wrong place. Even if they live and stay most of the year at their campus address, more often than not, when they get that census form in the mail, they tend to list their parents' address on their form, and their parents also tend to include them on their form when they get that in the mail. So that is a message that we really want to get across the state, especially to our college students and our parents of college students. If your child is away at college, please do not include them on your census questionnaire. If they are living and staying and sleeping most of the year at their campus address, we want them counted at their campus address. And if you think about that, you know, if your child is away at college and gets sick, where is an ambulance going to come? Do you want to ensure that enough funding has been brought to that campus community to support services like ambulances and health care? That's the big reason. You got to think about resources. We want people to be counted where they're living and staying the most because that's where they're using the resources the most. That's where they're driving on the roads the most and shopping in the stores the most. So it's very important that we educate our college students and parents about the importance of being counted correctly, which is their campus address where they live and stay most of the year.
Thanks, Michelle. This next question has come in about the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky's request for proposals for the 2020 census. And I love this comment and question, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it right here. As a nonprofit, we work with 15 different Kentucky counties and would love to find out more information about how a grant could help us and help you. This is exactly the message we're trying to share with everyone here in Kentucky. The Foundation for Healthy Kentucky works to address the unmet health needs of Kentuckians, and we need all of this data. We need this information, and where we can connect with each other in our communities, it's going to make for a successful 2020 census. So on the Foundation's website, you can find the short, it's just a few pages, request for proposals. I encourage you to read through that. And the timeline for that request for proposals is welcoming proposals now through the end of June for activities occurring, as Michelle and Dan share with you, now until midsummer. In there, it talks about some of the specific communities we would want to work with. Michelle's already and Dan have already highlighted some of the communities that and hard-to-reach groups, some of the geographies in Kentucky that we're hoping for special outreach. Obviously, a first step before you would want to submit a request for proposals grant application to the Foundation would be to connect with the leaders in your community who are already working on the 2020 census. So as Michelle and Dan have mentioned, there's a map on the website of all of the complete count committees where you can connect with those people and find out what's happening. From the information you've learned here today, and you can read on the census website, then do you see gaps in your local communities that a small grant from the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky could help you address those gaps in your community? Coordination is key. Getting out these correct messages from the U.S. Census Bureau is key, and coordinating with folks in your local community is very important. And thank you for this question again, how this grant could help, but also how we can help each other for a successful 2020 census. One more question, and this is for Michelle or Dan. How do you count homeless people?
Oh, yes, we get that question a lot. So we actually have an operation. Well, we have two operations. One is our group quarters operation, where we work with organizations that provide services to people experiencing homelessness. We work with folks that can help us identify where the people in Kentucky experiencing homelessness tend to gather or tend to sleep. And we actually have a 3-day operation where we go out at about 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning and have folks actually enumerate those people. So we do want to make sure that everybody is counted, but again, a lot of identifying where the people experiencing homelessness gather and sleep at night, a lot of identifying that comes from working with our local complete count committees. You are the knowledge, you are the local knowledge, and you can direct us to the right places so that we can ensure that we don't miss anybody. But we are providing every opportunity we can for folks to respond through both our group quarters operation and our operation where we actually go out at night to count the homeless population. That's a great question.
So Dan and Michelle, we're closing in on our last few minutes. Share with us what your main call to action would be for folks on the call. Some of their first steps could be with joining us here now on working on the 2020 census. Your call to action.
Well, I will tell you, Rochelle and everyone listening, if you have a complete count committee already and you've already done the hard work, don't stop. The hard work is not done yet. We have not crossed the finish line yet. And if you haven't been working on it, that's fine, because you can get started. And on that slide that I showed earlier, and it's up now, Those contact emails are for partnership specialists that have been working in your counties for a long time now. They're familiar with your counties. They're familiar with the areas throughout your counties. They are familiar with it, and they can help you get started. They know the website back and forth. So don't waste time trying to figure it out yourself. Call one of those folks, and they can help you. They can help you walk through it. And also, you know, it's never too late to do this work. And when we're talking about the last census, you know, we missed over 12,000 kids under the age of 5. This work is never done. And so don't think you missed the boat. Don't think there's no time, because there is time, and you can get it done. And in saying that, you know, I need to give a shout out to Secretary Eric Friedlander. He's chairing the State Complete Count Committee. He's the Cabinet Secretary for Health and Family Services. And the folks that are on that committee are just doing everything that they can to validate what we're doing at the local level. And it's great. We appreciate him and his staff and all their efforts. And just again, it's not too late, and if we can be of any assistance, please just reach out.
And my final thought in these last few minutes is just to remember that we only get one chance at this. Once a decade, whatever numbers we come up with for our state at the end of this, we are stuck with those numbers. We're stuck with those numbers till 2030. So every effort that we can put in these coming months, in March, April, and May, whether it's talking to your neighbors, talking to your colleagues, sending emails out, sharing social media posts, even little things like adding a census message to your email signature line, or including messages on utility bills about the importance of the census. Every little thing that you can think of, we're encouraging people to do, because if we are going to be successful, folks in Kentucky are going to need to get a message about the census from their place of employment, from their child's teacher, from their pastor while they're at church, from their areas of recreation. I mean, you cannot hit people with the message of how important this is too much in these next couple months. So we need all hands on deck. We need everybody helping with this effort, because we do not get another chance to get this right until 2030.
Thanks so much, Michelle and Dan. Honored to be partnering with you on this effort. Thanks again to the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky Leadership for funding this grant opportunity for all of us to work toward a complete count in 2020 census. This is a data issue. It's a representation issue. It's a health issue. It's for all of us to be counted. It's a funding issue. So thank you for all of you who have joined us here today on the webinar. If you're not already following the Foundation on social media, I tweet for Kentucky Health Facts, and the Foundation has a Twitter website as well as a Facebook page. And this afternoon, I will send you a link to a post-survey email. Speaking of surveys, which I would love to get your feedback on today's webinar, suggest future topics for Health for a Change. It just takes a few minutes. We would love your feedback today about the webinar, about what you learned or need to learn more about for the 2020 census. Again, my name is Rochelle Seeger. I'm honored to be working at the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky, leading this Health for a Change training series. And since its inception, we've reached Kentuckians in every Kentucky county. So thank you for joining us here today. We hope you have a great afternoon.